Many schoolyard and online debates have been had about whether Pokemon or Digimon was the superior late 90s monster taming franchise. It's no secret that on this channel we love talking about Digimon, the runner-up in the Mon Wars, but today I want to talk the series that took a distant third place when it came to monster taming shows based on games. I'm talking about Monster Rancher, otherwise known as Monster Farm in Japan. Last year I interviewed Daniel Dockery, who had just released the book on Pokemon and all of its copycats and competitors, and in that interview he told me Monster Rancher was one of the better shows from that era. Since I remember Monster Rancher but have no true love for it, I wanted to dive back in more than 20 years since I last watched an episode. There are plenty of reviews and retrospectives on the Monster Rancher games across the internet, but in the same way I'm personally more interested in Digimon anime than Digimon video games or trading cards. Today we're discussing the Monster Rancher anime, what this 73 episode series did better than its rivals, and where it couldn't live up. Welcome to the Digino. Subscribe if you can, because I've been really bad about asking viewers to subscribe this year, and even though it's cheesy as hell, it actually does work. Monster Rancher sees Genki, a video game loving boy from Tokyo, get transported into the world of the monsters when he places a special advanced copy of the new Monster Rancher game into his PlayStation 1. Story Sword Art Online, Genki was isekai'd into a video game all the way back in 1999. Genki learns about the evil Mu, who is corrupting good monsters into baddies in the name of world domination. He also hears through his new ally Holly, a 14-year-old girl from the monster world, that somewhere out there an all-powerful monster, the Phoenix, is trapped inside a mystery disc and is the only one that can defeat Mu. Genki, Holly, and the hideous Suezo expand their party to include Mochi, Golem, Hare, and the absolute legend that is Tiger of the Wind. They embark on an epic quest to find the Phoenix and defeat Mu. Similar to the video game where players would place any CD they had lying around into their PS1 to create a new monster, Genki and his allies find mystery discs throughout the world that contain monsters inside. It's adequate as a translation of the video game's main gimmick into a show format, and I know I said I was mainly going to talk about the anime as a standalone product in this video, but here is what I consider the first shortcoming of Monster Rancher and why maybe it faded away. Besides episode 1 where Genki competes in a monster battle tournament and is seen playing his PlayStation, after this there is really no indication that Monster Rancher is a multimedia property anywhere else in the show. In terms of making me want to try out Monster Rancher games, the Monster Rancher show did nothing for me in 1999 and nothing for me now. I remember when the show aired I had no clue it even had a video game for me to play. Of course I knew of the Pokemon games and the Digivice Virtual Pet thanks to those franchises' marketing machines, but also because the shows made me want to be a Pokemon master and a Digidestined. Monster Rancher had nothing to latch onto for kids outside of its 22-minute episodes. In some ways this is admirable that the series just focused on storytelling instead of being a toy commercial, but since the shows in this genre were ultimately commercials for toys and video games, it kind of failed at its most important job. Speaking of toys and video games, the sponsor of today's video wanted to say hello. Longtime fans of the channel will know that Buyee was the first ever sponsor of the Digino, and I'm so excited to let new fans of mine know about them. Buyee is a proxy shopping service that lets people all around the world buy Japan exclusive toys, figures, games, and more from major Japanese retailers like Rakuten, Mercari, Yahoo, JP, and more. Gone are the days of seeing cool stuff online, wishing they sold it in your region, and just giving up. You shop through Buyee's site, choose what you want, then Buyee essentially buys it on your behalf and sends it to you wherever you are. Pro tip, if you're not finding what you want by typing in English, run it through Google Translate and paste the katakana into Buyee. This opens up a whole other world of options for you. Buyee has a new special offer for people signing up for the first time. You'll get a 10% off coupon that you can use for purchasing your first order. There's a custom link for the 10% off coupon in this video's description and pinned comment, so whether you're purchasing merch now or in the future, head to the link and get the coupon now before you forget. Thanks so much to Buyee for supporting the channel. Now back to the review. Monster Rancher's commitment to story was admirable, but for one of these shows, I hate saying this, but story kind of isn't enough. The harsh reality is that for kids watching, more important than the story were the unique and colorful character designs, the monsters they'd be looking at. Of the big three series we've been talking about in this video, I think Monster Rancher hands down has the least interesting monster designs. Pokemon had Pikachu as its mascot, Digimon had Agumon, both iconic characters that are cute and tough, very huggable. Monster Rancher had Suezo, the one-eyed thumb thing, or maybe Mochi would be considered the mascot as he's Genki's main monster partner. Either way, both of these are pretty terrible choices for franchise mascots. Suezo is too gross to be cute, and Mochi is too cute to be cool. Tiger of the Wind is probably the best design of all the monsters. Pixie is kind of neat too, but I feel like I've seen this type of character everywhere. Harpy Ladies in Yu-Gi-Oh!, that villain in Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. I'm sure there's a persona that looks exactly like this. On the other hand, where Monster Rancher outdoes Pokemon and Digimon is how the monsters of this world have far more personality and character than the other series. Tiger, Suezo, Hare, Hare, Golem, Pixie, and the others are fully fleshed out people with motivations, dreams, histories in this world. Of course, the Digimon could speak to their human partners, which was a point above Pokemon, but in the first couple seasons, they were rarely anything more than yes men and sidekicks. Teamers put in some work to add depth to the Digimon characters like Renamon and Impmon, but prior to that, they were just sort of extensions of their human chosen child. It was hard to imagine them having lives before meeting their partners and lives after the kids went back to the real world. Tiger, Hare, Pixie on the other hand, we can easily believe that they have roles in their respective communities across this world. I'm also a big fan of Holly, who struck me on my franchise revisit as a very capable and complex female character, at least by 90s kids show standards. She isn't reduced to a love interest for Genki or a crybaby or whatever. She holds the magic stone, picture Bulma's dragon radar. She has the backstory related to the series bad guy Mu, whereas Genki is the one who's just kind of here for the ride. Speaking of Genki, he's more Ash than he is Tai in terms of design, with the baseball cap and relatively chill hair for an anime protagonist. I like Genki plenty, but his fearlessness and can-do attitude rarely allows for moments of realness that were very commonplace in Digimon and happened occasionally in Pokemon too. The fact that they let Genki get in on the fights though, that rules. He's constantly drop-kicking and punching baddies. Monster Rancher beat Digimon to the punch by a few years in allowing the humans to fight, something Digimon wouldn't really do until Data Squad in 2006. You could maybe argue Frontier let the kids fight since they were the Digimon, but even then Monster Rancher was several years ahead of Frontier. One more point on characters and monster designs. Something that was incredibly disappointing on my rewatch was just how many repeat designs are present throughout the show. The antagonists of any given episode are almost always either those goop men, the lizards, or just color swaps of Golem, Hare, Suezo, and the others. The guy who raps between the commercial breaks makes a point of bragging about the 400 monsters. Maybe they exist in the games, but in the show it feels like there are maybe 20 monsters with some alt skins, like when you're picking a color for your fighter in Super Smash Bros. Another thing the series was missing in my opinion is that evolution, transformation factor. There is fusion in the world of Monster Rancher and they play with it a tiny bit, but for the most part the monsters you meet in their debut episodes remain entirely unchanged visually throughout the series. In some ways it's kind of bold not to have an evolution or a Super Saiyan thing or any other kind of transformation going on when all of the big anime at the time utilized transformation in some way, shape, or form. I'm not even talking about just Digimon and Pokemon, but Dragon Ball, Metabots with its modular upgrades and the Metaforce. There was Card Captor, Sailor Moon, Power Rangers, Shaman King. All of them utilized the concept of transformation sequences in some capacity. Then there was Monster Rancher giving you Mochi, and Mochi stays the same. Sometimes, like in the case of Digimon, wanting to know which Mon is going to evolve next and what they'll evolve into was a major reason to keep watching and to come back every week. Here, Monster Rancher really only had the Mu and Phoenix plotline to keep viewers tuning in and returning. I want to quickly touch on the English dub of Monster Rancher, which was put together by Ocean out of Vancouver, Canada. I think a lot of the voice talent on the dub is great, especially Tiger and Holly. In Canada, we initially got Dragon Ball Z, not with the Funimation dub you're used to, but a version with Ocean voice actors. So actually, Tiger was the same voice as Canada's Vegeta, Holly is Canada's version of Bulma, and Genki was Dende. I definitely heard the Canadian versions of Krillin and Piccolo playing smaller one-off parts when I rewatched these episodes too. All of those voices unlocked memories of watching dubbed anime on YTV in the 90s and 2000s for me, so I really enjoyed that. When you look at what Monster Rancher did and didn't do, I came to the conclusion it's frankly less like Pokemon and Digimon, and as weird as this may sound, it's more like Dragon Quest or even kind of the Wizard of Oz, maybe Lord of the Rings. I know that sounds absurd, but it's not about building up a team of pet monsters then evolving them, and it's not interested in selling you toys or video games. It's a weirdly character-focused story about a group of unlikely allies forming a party and adventuring across a vast fantasy land. The monsters are more or less people in terms of how they are written and how much agency they have in the story, and that's honestly very cool. But the show's unwillingness or disinterest when it came to being a massive multimedia franchise, it not wanting to be a commercial for a game or toy line, that made it so that when an episode of Monster Rancher ended, you just kind of stopped thinking about Monster Rancher. Then when Monster Rancher ended for good, in 2001, we all just kind of stopped thinking about Monster Rancher forever for the most part. My Monster Rancher revisit provided, at least for me, a fascinating look at one of the stranger monster taming shows from the dawn of the millennium. And while I'm glad I revisited the show, I didn't come out thinking it was some hidden gem that was done dirty and you must absolutely watch. If you think I've been too hard on Monster Rancher or you want to rewatch it yourself and make up your own opinion, the good news is it's super easy to watch in 2023. Every episode is uploaded officially on YouTube as well as Tubi, and I think Amazon Prime even has it in America if I'm not mistaken. Even though I don't think it's the best show ever and was kind of forgotten for a reason, go ahead and check out Monster Rancher if you're feeling nostalgic. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed so we can maybe hit 50k by the end of the year. Comment what other shows from that time period you'd like me to revisit and cover. Thank you to Buyee for sponsoring the video. My link for the discount is in this video's description. Have a great week everyone. I'll see you in the next video.